1956. I have a lot of memories connected to this city, but there was a memory that left an indelible imprint on my young psyche when I was 12 years old. The day was April 4th, the year 1968, and the time was 6:01 p.m. That was the day that Martin Luther King Jr., the peaceful warrior, was assassinated through gun violence. I remember the look on my parents' faces when they heard the news. It was a look of shock. It was a look of sadness mingled with hopelessness. I remember the unrest that swept the nation in response to the death of this leader whose life was gone too soon. But I also remember that in the midst of the national unrest, Atlanta, in spite of her pain, maintained the peace. You see, there was a mixed multitude of community leaders, politicians, police, churches, and students from the Atlanta University Center who hit the streets to promote peace in honor of a man who shunned violence. But today my heart is heavy. Heavy because the nonviolence preached by Dr. King has given way to citywide and nationwide violence that has become unsettlingly normal. Heavy because I don't have to watch the news to know the headlines. Headlines with stories of more young lives gone too soon, victims of gun violence. In 2019, tens of thousands died as a result of gun violence. There were 36 shootings at K through 12 schools. There were urban and suburban mass shootings. Gun violence in high schools increased by over 50%. 52%, I want you to hear me now. 52% of gun violence victims in the whole of the U.S. are black males, despite black males making up only 7% of the U.S. population. At the rate things are going today, those numbers will pale in comparison to 2021. From Columbine to Sandy Hook to urban areas across the nation to here in Atlanta, we see that gun violence is woven throughout the fabric of this nation. We are a nation saturated with guns. There are more than 393 million civilian-owned firearms in the United States, or enough for every man, woman, and child to own one and still have 67 million guns left over. Americans make up 4% of the world's population, but own 46% of the entire global stock of civilian guns. Let me be clear, though, I am not against gun ownership, but clearly something is wrong and something has to be done. Because of the gun violence, we've seen so many young men, women, and children become victims gone too soon. The trigger has become increasingly easy to pull, so much so that it leaves you shaking for head and searching for answers while finding none. Because of the gun violence, the number of our young men is decreasing, the prison population is increasing, and innocent people are caught in the crossfire. Families are walking and weeping, leaving a trail of tears as they go because their child who was is no more. The Bible says it like this: a voice was heard in Ramah, wailing and loud lamentation, Rachel weeping for her children. She refused to be comforted because her children are no more, gone too soon. Mothers and fathers across the country sit in stunned silence as they hear the news. Your son, your daughter has been killed. Then the silence soon gives way to uncontrollable tears. The child she carried in her womb, now she must carry to the tomb. Now there is a painful memorial as loved ones relive the loss of a child gone too soon. And then there is the nagging, often unanswered question of why. Why such senseless killing? Why? Why is it so easy to kill? Why? Why so little value attached to a human life? Why does a child sleeping in her own bed, a bright future ahead, full of dreams, become a casualty of a stray bullet in a gunfight? and all dreams come to a screeching halt. This is a somber, melancholy reality, but there is hope. Without hope, life becomes more difficult than it already is. There is hope because together we can make a difference. When the haves connect with the have-nots, when Christians connect regardless of race and politics, when we're all mindful of the poor, we can make a difference. While it's not always true, many times violence is conceived in the womb of poverty. But let me be clear, this is not a statement of justification but explanation. Because at the end of the day, we're all responsible for the choices we make. But with that said, we cannot ignore the power of poverty to influence bad choices. And this is true all over the world, whether in Africa, the Americas, Europe, or Asia. Poverty sometimes is the catalyst that propels the psyche into a by any means necessary mentality. A mentality that can result in another person gone too soon. We must all answer the call, come together and work for change. I call on City Hall and the police department to better connect with communities they serve. I call on pastors to keep serving in your communities. You are making a difference by your presence and your ministries. Much of what you do receives no attention, but God sees, God knows, and the people you serve are the beneficiaries. I call on that person with a gun to stop and think before you pull that trigger, because the consequences are irreversible. In one moment of time, the trigger can change the trajectory of your life and stop the trajectory of someone else's. Stop and think before you take a life and spend the rest of your days in a cell the size of your bathroom. I call on the many young, gifted musical artists whose talent and lyrical genius brought them out of the ghetto. I call on you to use your influence and your music to help curb the violence. Together, we can make a difference because there is power in unity. One poet said it like this, and I quote, "The power of unity creates a synergy that can conquer even the most formidable adversary. We can do it together." No, all is not lost. But just as there is power in unity, there is power in the prayers of a unified people moving toward a common goal, seeking a strategy from a just God. The Bible says it like this: "If my people, which are called by my name, would humble themselves and pray and turn from their wicked ways, then," somebody help me say then. Say it again, then will I hear from heaven, and then I will heal their land. All is not lost. Together we can make a difference. Together we can make our city a better, safer place to raise our families. A place where the poor are prioritized and not minimized. A place where life is valued, violence is abhorred, and our children have a chance. Let's work together. Somebody say together. Let's work together to make this city a tribute to the many people who've gone before us, whose blood is screaming out from the grave saying, "We are better than this. We are better than this." We have to stop using violence at the onset of any argument. We are better than this. We've got to stop taking the humanity of another person's life for granted. We are better than this. We've got to stop using money as a reason to take a life just because you're trying to prove your bravado. We're better than this. We've come through too much, seen too much, lost too much. We are better than this. And I submit to you that together we can make a change. Somebody raise your hands and raise your voice and say, together, we can make a change. We are better than sending sleeping children to their graves, innocent victims of bullets because of misguided bravado. We are better than this. Stop and think before you add to the list of those gone too soon. Kalisha Armani Williams, gone too soon. Sanchez Deontay Barber, gone too soon. Dewan Dalen Deshaun Rogers, gone too soon. I believe that through the power of prayer, as we raise our hands and raise our voices, we serve a God that sits high, looks low, and will do something about our prayers. I believe that our prayers will rise as incense to a God who's waiting on us to come together, regardless of race and regardless of place, and reach out to Him. The Bible says in Psalms 141 and 2, let my prayer be counted as incense before you, and the lifting up of my hands as the evening sacrifice, as a song. I want everybody